Welcome to our first theory video for From. I'm Dan, that's Jules, that's Bagface, and that's Billy. And we're here to rock your world. There's some awesome theories we got from you guys. This is the first of many theory videos for season 3 of From. We're going to read some user comments, and then we're going to share our own theories at the end. And if you want to be included in the next theory video, just drop your comments below, and we'll pick them and move forward from there. There's a lot of good stuff here. So, Jules, how about you kick things off?
Okay, sounds good. All right, so our first comment is from the Hair of Elendil, and they said, the word fae, aka fairy, is another word for from in Scottish folklore. If you read up on it, this is exactly what these monsters are.
All right, so I just watched The Watchers last night. Has anyone seen that movie?
Yeah, me and Emily watched it like 2 weeks ago.
What movie is that?
M. Night Shyamalan's daughter's first movie she ever directed.
Okay.
All right, and in that movie, they refer to the beings as fairies. So when I saw this comment, I was like, oh my God, I just watched this movie. I just saw this. So it like blew my mind. And they're very similar, right, Bill? Like you can't go out at night. You got to go inside.
Yeah,
it's like observed.
It's not how people actually typically think of fairies.
Right. And what Bill said, you're being observed, right? In that movie,
it is very similar. It's funny. My wife was like, "We should watch this movie," and so we watched it. I'm like, it's a lot like that show we just finished.
Yes,
watching.
It's very similar.
Apparently, too, there's like a sequel novel coming out in the next like few weeks or months to that movie. So there will be a second Watchers movie at some point.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I just thought that was really cool and interesting, and it's really cool that there's like an actual basis where the title comes from. So
yeah, it's funny. I was actually just recently reading up on fairy folklore because I got a tattoo when I was in Ireland, which ironically, the artist who did it, his name was Faye.
No way.
I swear to God, shout out Tattoos by Faye on Insta. But like, it's wild how much like folklore there is behind all of these things that I just never would have guessed. Like it's way like crazier than just like little fairy wings. Like,
yeah. And dealing with the show From, there's a lot of folklore in it. So if you can spot it, and we'll read about it in the future theory videos. All right, Bill, what do you got?
Yeah, second one, it's at Stephen Daniels. I think the town is connected as a whole, and it's empowered on fear. Boyd's hope and last season, lack of fear and new discovery triggered the town to fight back. If I remember correctly, his wife tried to advise him to quit and give in to despair, which makes me think hope is the town's biggest rival.
All right, I'm going to put in exactly what the wife said right now.
It's not your fear that feeds the forest boy. It's hope.
That's what the beings don't want. That's what the monsters don't want. They want to diminish hope from everyone. So that is perfect, and it makes total sense. What about you guys?
No, it makes sense to me. It also makes me think, like, is there something in the town that wants them to hope, and that's why he ends up finding the talismans when he goes and wanders through the forest? Like, is there competing forces?
Not even that, but I think it's the whatever force they're up against. I think it's that just fucking with them. She said like, oh, like it feeds on hope.
Yeah.
Like it feeds on that. That's what it runs on. So of course they're going to want them to be hopeful. So they're going to give him little, they're going to throw him a little bone now and then. So they think things are going up, and then they're going to just rip it away from them.
Yeah. And they're trying to break down Boyd. And when Boyd said, you can't break me, and they made him watch Tin Shen get ripped apart alive. So like
brutal. Brutal.
I know that if you try to like read some of the interviews they did online about this show, saying that it's not just another Lost. I have a very hard time separating Lost from this show, especially with the producers. And there's, and if spoilers for Lost, 20-year-old show, but I won't really. But there's an idea in Lost of kind of this philosophical fight of good versus evil, right? And there's something like that going on here, right? There is some kind of game, bet, arrangement, whatever gun. I don't have enough for me to put my thumb on what I think exactly it is yet, but there is the boy, like the boy in white, and I'm thinking about like the man in black in Lost, right? And so I think like what Jules says right too is like there's definitely the bad side too that is trying to give in like the hallucinations, like that could very easily be the evil people trying to just trick them, be the devil on their shoulder. So I do think his actions at the end of the season, him smashing that music box is something, right? That was some form of talisman or something that now it's cold, right? Everything is happening now, and something they did triggered it. And so I think this theory is kind of right in that spirit. So
yeah, and things aren't supposed to change. And Victor said,
is it bad that they're losing their leaves?
Things change
Here it's usually bad.
And now it's getting cold, and we see what happens with the food. Now there's no food. They have to deal with that. So it all
whatever this thing is, they pissed it off. They pissed it
pissed
all the way off.
Yeah, they really did.
All right, so this comment is from at Eddie Terrell 5457. This is more of an observation no one I've watched has remotely talked about. A, the monsters can hear them during the day when they're normally sleeping. Boyd said this place won't break me, they heard. There was fighting about the animals, the monsters let them out, they heard.
You want to tie that right into harsh ad meta 4861. That grandma from the bus looks suspicious. Either she's going to help or she's pulling strings.
So that's where I was going.
She does look a little sketchy.
Could she be feeding them info, or like how else would they know what they say?
If she's like secretly one of them,
right? How else would they know what they're saying when they're sleeping?
Okay,
How do they know?
Remember when Jim actually gets the radio to work in season 1, and there's someone on the other line that knows what is happening currently in his house,
in his basement? Yeah, okay.
Before the old lady gets there.
It feels like it's some kind of like omniscient being, and I'm still thinking that if that's the case, all of these like monsters and these things that they're encountering are basically just a part of this being. Like it's just they're all part of the same energy, you know?
Yeah,
that would make sense. Like if this thing is like all knowing, then of course it's gonna hear and see everything that they're doing.
I love the idea that somebody we've known though from the beginning is one of them. Right.
Yeah,
again, I'll be the obligatory lost guy. Like it's like the others. Like there's gotta be a mole, right? In some way. Like or one of these people has been to the town and has been out and come back. Like one of them is not actually trapped there.
Yeah, when Billy was talking about Lost, it just kind of like there's a shot in the first episode ever, like in the pilot episode of Lost, that pretty much shows exactly what's happening. And I have a feeling that it happened in this show too, because there's I can't remember what game they're playing. It's like, I don't know if they made it up for the show or not. There's like the Man in Black and then Jacob, and they're playing a board game with each other, and like one of half the pieces are white and half the pieces are black, and it kind of like it sets up the ending of the show right at the beginning of the show. Like the reason I love Lost so much is just the mirroring from the beginning to the end of the show is just fantastic. But I have a feeling that they probably did the exact same thing at the beginning of this show, where they gave us the answer right away, like right a fucking away. And
I love that they do that if they're clever about it.
Yeah,
and like they don't make it too obvious, but like you know. Obvious enough that you'll still get it, but I hate them because I never get it. So
this makes me sad if it's true, but I've seen in the comment section a lot of people are suspicious of Fatima. They think that she may be the one that's in on it. That would be very sad.
Did they say why?
I don't know.
No one thinks Victor.
I kind of saw that one kind of zombie they showed today in the dress kind of looked like Fatima. I kind of felt like, is something bad going to happen to her?
That's what it was. Okay. The person that Elgin's seeing in his dreams and the one that tried to drown him, they said that her clothing and the way she presents herself kind of looks like Fatima. So that's where they're getting that from.
So this one is from Trico9284. My theory for the entire show is I believe they're in a pocket universe, and some of the residents sent there are from the original bloodline from 1500s. I also believe this pocket universe is a test on humanity, like what Jim suggested, but just a different cause. I believe that this test is to see if all of humanity should be killed if they deserve to exist.
That's interesting, right? A test? Like Jim thinks that.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I could see that. I have like I don't know. I have like some kind of inkling that it's like has to do with some kind of like purgatory. Because like Tabitha had to have like a near-death experience to get out. I don't know. Maybe it's like some like test of like, do you deserve to have a second chance?
I liked what they said about like if humans deserve to exist, and they're testing these people. So it makes you think. I really like that comment a lot.
I mean, that's it sounds like Lost to me. Like that's just like but I agree. I do the idea that I do think that somebody or a few of them are going to be originally from the town, right? That town at some point in time we are going to get some kind of flashback to when that town was booming and nice.
Yeah.
And the other thing, at least we suspect, is that time moves differently there. So, like,
I have something
it would
on
be
that.
Much easier for someone to have been there so much longer than someone who wasn't in this pocket universe.
I have something on that at the end, so stay tuned to the end about the time difference. I have something on that later, but yeah, we'll talk about it. But yeah,
I want to know more about the actual the town itself, or is it even a town? Right? Is it even a real town that exists anywhere? Right? Was it ever? I would like to know that, right? If you go like down the Stephen King line where they do those type of things, it is over physical towns, right? They were actual places. So I'm curious.
I don't think it is.
What that is.
I think it's all. I think the way they're connected and like brought there, at least in line with what I just said previously, is that like that tree is like them getting into an accident. Like they all hit that tree, the fucking bus flipped over, and this is like the in between. Like, do you deserve to survive through this?
So you think it's just them people or everyone? Like they're testing just these people, or it's a test on humanity in general?
I mean, I don't know, but
okay,
it just seems like that's like one of the few ways that people from all over the states could be picked for one thing. You know what I mean?
It's literally the reason I'm not saying anything. So I feel like I figured it out / Billy figured it out, but yeah, it's just Lost, and I think they're probably going to end the show in the same way Lost ended, where one of the humans that are there, they're going to have to take over for one of the forces of things that is happening and continue the fight kind of vibe. There's definitely like a good and a bad, and a Boyd's going to have to like take the place of the good and like see over this place. That would be my assumption.
Like he sacrifices himself and stays there for everyone else?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Question though, I always had this theory in my brain that when Victor was in the town when he was young, remember that Polaroid that they find? I question whether the monsters existed then, because the scene with him and his mom and his little sister, it almost seems like the monsters aren't a thing yet.
I agree. Jules, you should go.
So while we were talking, I was thinking of, if that's the case and they weren't here before, what if this is just like a manifestation of Victor's fears?
Oh God!
Because it all seems based off something that a kid would know, like fairy tales.
So
Fairies.
I think like the smiling
power,
on
like
them,
Rapunzel. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because like they talk about, he talks about being afraid of like the ventriloquist dummies and stuff, right? And all the smiles are very dummy, like and then the weird the girl who I always call her the weird girl, but I actually like her, the weird girl whose brother. Yeah, who gets killed off when she kills him in the first season. He talks about being like deathly like afraid of cicadas, and then in season 2 they're getting cicadaed up, right? Like where the hell did cicadas come from? Like, so I do think there is something to do there again. And if it is fairy stuff, it's like it's magic. It's like it's feeding on their emotions and their thoughts and their fears and their hopes.
Like Tinkerbell, she needs that. It's like, oh my God, it's like Tinkerbell.
Yeah, right. Seriously,
I feel like someone mentioned this in the show. It might have been Boyd's wife's ghost, or maybe it was Sarah. I don't know. But like when people die, they become a part of the place. I think someone mentioned that somewhere in the show. So like maybe this.
Boyd's wife says you have to wake up. You need to die.
That's what she thought. Yeah.
But I think Sarah says something along the lines of like when they die, they become part of. Yeah. So maybe like everyone is still kicking. I'm assuming the lighthouse has something to do with the light side of whatever force is in this place, and that's why it's a lighthouse. That's why she got out.
Yeah.
And Tabitha, she's missing. She didn't die there, so that's the way out for that storyline, because it's not like you saw her get killed by the monsters and then she woke up in the real world.
I think the lighthouse is going to exist in real life too. I think that's going to be a thing. It's going to be like
medium.
Like
that
she's going
surprising to me.
See it and be like.
That'd be really cool.
It's like the faraway tree, but like between universes.
Exactly.
I love those trees. All right, now we finally have someone that has a theory about the symbol. I was really questioning and looking for answers on the symbol, and finally someone made a guess. So let us know what you guys think about this in the comments. But Bag, go ahead.
All right, so this one is from @the_TV_therapist, and T with the TEA, very cute. The symbol Jade is trying to figure out is a star. The symbol aligns with the solstice and the equinoxes, which are located by stars. It's a map to escape the town.
So we got
that's awesome. I love that.
We got something, I don't know if that's true, but at least we have somebody finally made a guess.
That is definitely very interesting. And it kind of makes sense of that scene of Jade, how he was like laying on the floor and looking up at it.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense because it's like a hint to like laying down and looking up at stars.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know if anyone brought this up. I've been trying to figure this out for like 2 seasons. When it was like 2 years of my life, when those kids surround Tabitha.
Oh yes,
and they're saying Onkui. I've listened to that sound so many times. I'm like, is it something reversed? I don't understand. That was definitely the answer. They were saying the answer in some way to her.
I like it. All right.
Yeah, and it has to be important, or they focused on it way too much.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I'm so excited to share this with you guys. Hopefully you like it. So here is 2 comments that are going to lead into my theory. First up is from 4 Laws of Attraction. Here's a theory you guys can address, make a video on. I think the priest that Tabitha met in the real world is in on it. Why was he asking so many questions? And then he goes on to say, I think Tabitha got transported to another alternate universe like Fromland or something, but I don't think she's back in the real world yet. I call BS on that. Will be interesting to see if I'm wrong on this. Now, do you guys remember when she was leaving the hospital, when she looks up at the elevator, the number that she sees is 13. She wasn't on she was on the 12th floor, not the 13th floor. But the first number she looked up.
I thought most places don't have a 13th floor.
They don't.
Bad luck.
Well, here, I got some information on that. I looked into it. So in mythology, the number 13 is associated with bad luck and misfortune. So the fear of the number 13 comes from the ancient Greek word triskaideka, and it means 13 and phobos meaning fear. Many buildings, including hotels, skip the 13th floor to avoid the superstition, just like you were saying. And some architectural plans even label the 13th floor as M to avoid the number. Now, going on with this, with the priest. Now thinking that the priest might be in on it, or maybe she's not in the real world. She did call her mom. It could be all a ruse. We'll see.
That doesn't necessarily mean anything. Like it's giving dark matter.
Yeah, it is.
Like they still have those same relationships, just if you know what I mean. They're just different relationships.
Then Jordan Clark commented under this thread. He said, "How did he know the gender of Thomas when she never mentioned the gender?" I'll put the clip in right now.
He was the one that let my baby fall off that changing table.
She never says it was a boy. And he said...
What was his name?
What?
Your child, the one you lost. What was his name?
So that priest is shady. That whole scenario looks shady. Why did she go to Victor's hometown, Camden, Maine? It all seems a little too weird to me. And I'm not really believing that she's back in the real world. I don't know. She might be somewhere else. Anything on that, guys?
It's a good theory. I don't agree, but it's a good theory.
That's fine.
I'm skeptical. The number 13 thing did catch me off guard a little bit because why did they focus on that?
They focus on her room number really quick, and then the
house
floor.
number.
Yeah, she's in like room 22, 25, and then they focus on the floor that she's on, which is 12, and then she looks up and she sees the 13.
Yeah.
So like maybe there's a combo of all the, I don't know.
It's coordinates.
Just like the numbers in Lost. Does anybody know the numbers on the top of your head?
4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42.
There you go. Perfect.
Dang.
All right. Now,
Let's
one thing to end this video on. Now, in our previous video, I'll link it after this video if you haven't seen it yet, our coverage on episode 1. Bagface had mentioned that maybe there's a time dilation going on. Now, I just wanted to point out that there was specific references twice in this episode mentioning 3 days. First, the doctor said
3 days ago, a pair of hikers found you in the woods.
And then when Boyd is talking to Father Kotri, he said,
one of your own people tried to kill you 3 days ago.
So that could mean that the time does line up and that there is no time dilation. I'm just throwing that out there. It could mean that since they mentioned it. I would love to believe the time dilation thing, especially with what Bag said last week about how Victor and his father are looking so close in age. So there's a lot to go on there, but I thought I'd just throw out both sides.
I would love to find out. And I don't think they'll go this way, but I would think it would be so cool that she thinks she's out in the real world and she comes to find out later on that like Victor's dad died a while ago.
That'd
right?
Yeah.
Like she's actually in, but she's never going to get back to the family, but she will be able to help, right? Like there's a part she can still play. I think that's also like when Victor's dad that's a way to say when he sees that lunchbox, he's like, how do you have that?
Yes.
Like, you know, like you
I feel like that just kind of like plays off like my idea of like purgatory. Like it's like
can't pass on until the experiment's done or the whatever is done.
They serve their purpose. Yeah.
That's really cool.
I see a theory just burning in your brain bag. Tell us what it is.
Man,
I need to hear it. I need to hear it.
There is too many similarities to this show and Lost. Way too many for me to not assume that this town is a gigantic chessboard set up between the devil and God, and they are trying to argue about the essence of humanity, and the devil's trying to prove the same thing that the Man in Black was trying to prove in Lost, which is like, no, people are kind of all for themselves. They don't give a fuck. The Man in White or God or whatever you want to call them is like, no, people are inherently good. They will fight for each other, that kind of thing. So I would assume the reason we see more terrible shit happen is because, you know, God's like hands off and he's like, I'm gonna touch this, and the devil's like, let me like test you and like see what's going on, and he's trying to break them. And Tabitha falling out of the window, she's definitely gonna have a purpose to do. I'm pretty sure she's in the real world, but she's going to have she is the key to how they get out. But she just has to kind of do it herself. You know, she had to fall out of the window. She technically had to like die or get injured, like sacrifice in order to be able to help the people and stuff.
All right. Question to end it off. Does anyone think she ends up back in Fromland, or she's
yes.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
You do?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then she helps everybody get out.
She'll get back to Fromland. Something will happen to the lighthouse where it's not a door anymore.
Okay.
But she knows that you can get in and out.
She brings people there and it just crumbles to the ground.
Yeah.
I like it. Any final thoughts, guys?
Same as the sub getting blown up. It's the same shit. This show to me is the creators of Lost, whoever was actually attached to Lost that is attached to this show. It's their apology to Harold because he got fucked on Lost.
Michael's character,
about his experience. It's crazy, man. He got paid like less than all the white actors. They killed him off when he started asking for more money. It's pretty fucking crazy. They like wrote him off, sorry. But I think this is a mulligan. They just wanted to do the story that they wanted to do right. And I don't think they had control of it at the start because it was J.J. Abrams for Lost. And I think this is them being like, we had a good thing. We're going to do it in a different setting so everybody can see like this was the plan. And they're also throwing Harold in it to be like, sorry about Lost. You can be the star on this one.
All right. I like it. Well, that's our theory video. If you guys got any theories, link them below and we'll make as many as you guys want. I'll do literally every week if you want. It's a lot of fun. I love to read all your theories. This show just makes you think, and I love it so much. And I'm so thankful for this show. So thank you guys for watching. Thanks for everybody for being here. We'll see you next time. Later.
Bye, guys.
I saw two children standing in the middle of the road staring at me.